From the depths of the oceans to the far reaches of the universe, there are threats that could mean the end of our species. Some are tiny, almost invisible. Others are the product of nature itself, or even of our own hands. But they all have one thing in common: the potential to destroy us completely. In this video, we will explore 7 creatures that could wipe out humanity, from microscopic beings that multiply uncontrollably to artificial intelligences that could turn against us. Each one represents a unique, terrifying threat, and a surprisingly real one. We will move from the least likely to the most feared, escalating in danger, and in the possibility that these creatures could push us to the limit. Some already exist, others may be evolving at this very moment, and one of them might already be here. Get ready to face the unknown. Let's begin. Number 7. We start this list with a creature that seems straight out of a myth, but is as real as the water we drink. It lives in the depths of the oceans and holds a secret that could change the balance of life on Earth. Its name is the immortal jellyfish. Scientifically known as Turritopsis dohrnii, this creature has an ability that defies the laws of nature. It can reverse its aging. When faced with a threat, environmental stress, or physical damage, this tiny being activates a process called cellular transdifferentiation, allowing it to revert to its polyp stage, essentially being reborn. In simple terms, it is immortal. Although this species measures just a few millimeters, its ability has captured the attention of scientists worldwide. But how could such a small creature pose a threat to humanity? The problem is not the immortal jellyfish itself, but what it could trigger. Its immortality has no limits, meaning that under the right conditions, it could reproduce uncontrollably. If this species were to expand massively, it could invade marine ecosystems, displacing other species and disrupting the oceanic food chain, a crucial system for human survival. Fishing, which sustains millions of people worldwide, could collapse. The oceans, instead of being a source of life, would become a stage overrun by these immortal creatures, causing a domino effect that would impact all of humanity. Not to mention what could happen if we ever managed to replicate its immortality in other organisms, or in ourselves. If the immortality of the jellyfish seems like a subtle threat, what comes next feels much closer and more tangible. We leave the ocean behind and venture into the vast forests of our planet, where a small, seemingly insignificant creature could unleash a disaster on a global scale. Number 6. In the forests of North America and other regions of the world, there lives a tiny creature that doesn't seem dangerous, at least at first glance. With the ability to devastate entire ecosystems, and with them our own survival, next on our list is the pine bark beetle. These small insects, barely a few millimeters long, have a very clear mission: to burrow into pine bark and lay their eggs. In doing so, they not only kill the tree by disrupting its nutrient flow, but also release fungi that accelerate its destruction. What starts with a few infected trees can quickly turn into an ecological disaster. But how could such a tiny insect threaten humanity? The answer lies in the scale of the problem. In recent decades, the pine bark beetle has devastated millions of hectares of forests in North America. These forests are not only home to countless plant and animal species, but also act as one of the planet's most important carbon sinks. With fewer trees to absorb carbon dioxide, greenhouse gas emissions increase, accelerating climate change. And as if that weren't enough, dead, dry, and weakened trees become the perfect fuel for devastating wildfires, like those we are seeing more frequently around the world. The pine bark beetle is the spark that could ignite a vicious cycle: vanishing forests, more extreme climates, and collapsing ecosystems. If we fail to control its spread, the consequences won't just affect wildlife but also our cities, economies, and way of life. If a tiny insect can destroy our green lungs and accelerate climate change, what comes next is even more terrifying. We leave the forests behind and enter the microscopic world, where an invisible enemy can spread faster than we imagine and claim millions of lives in the process. Number 5. It is invisible to the human eye, but its presence leaves an indelible mark. In the remote jungles of Africa, a deadly enemy lurks, ready to spread with devastating speed. It moves silently, attacking from within, unleashing chaos so lethal that few manage to survive. This enemy has a name that inspires terror: the Ebola virus. Since it was discovered in 1976, Ebola has earned a reputation as one of the deadliest viruses in recent history. Originating in remote regions of Africa, this invisible enemy is capable of causing a lethality that few pathogens can match. With mortality rates ranging from 50% to 90%, an Ebola infection is, for many, a death sentence. Ebola is a hemorrhagic virus that attacks the body brutally. It destroys organs, causes internal and external bleeding, and leads to multiple organ failure within days. What makes it even more terrifying is the speed at which it can spread in vulnerable communities, especially those with weak healthcare systems or no access to treatment. But what makes it a threat to all of humanity? Although Ebola is currently transmitted primarily through direct contact with bodily fluids, everything could change with a simple mutation. If the virus were to adapt to become airborne, the impact would be devastating. The combination of its high lethality and an increased transmission capacity could trigger a global pandemic like nothing we've ever seen before. And it's not just the biology of the virus that is concerning, but also the lack of global preparedness. Although we have limited vaccines and treatments, a massive outbreak could quickly overwhelm healthcare systems, especially in densely populated countries. The consequences would go far beyond the lives lost. There would be economic collapses, social chaos, and a fear that would paralyze the entire world. If the Ebola virus represents a microscopic and lethal threat, what follows on this list takes the danger to an even more terrifying level. Because this next enemy cannot only survive for decades, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, but it has also been used as a weapon against humanity. Number 4. Silent, resilient, and deadly. What you are about to discover is not just a bacterium. It is an invisible threat capable of surviving for decades and unleashing chaos with a single human mistake. In fourth place, we are talking about the anthrax bacillus, also known as anthrax. The anthrax bacillus, scientifically known as Bacillus anthracis, is one of the most resilient and lethal bacteria humanity has ever faced. Although its name may sound unfamiliar to many, its history is marked by fear, suffering, and in some cases, deliberate use as a biological weapon. Anthrax is a bacterium capable of producing spores that can survive in almost any environment for decades. These spores can be found in soil, water, or even food. And when they enter the human body, they unleash a chain of lethal events: fever, difficulty breathing, internal bleeding, and ultimately, death. In its most aggressive form, inhaled anthrax has a mortality rate of up to 85% if not treated in time. But what truly makes the anthrax bacillus so terrifying is not just its lethality, but its potential to be used as a weapon. During the Cold War, both the United States and the Soviet Union experimented with anthrax, developing more aggressive strains and stockpiling them as part of their biological warfare arsenals. In 1979, an accidental outbreak in Sverdlovsk, Russia, killed dozens of people after spores were released into the air. A single package containing powdered anthrax could be enough to unleash chaos in an entire city. The spores spread easily through the air, infecting those who inhale them. And worst of all, its extreme resilience makes it nearly impossible to completely eradicate from a contaminated area. If the anthrax bacillus were to fall into the wrong hands, or if a massive outbreak spiraled out of control, the impact would be devastating. Millions could die, and fear would paralyze society. This tiny bacterium reminds us that the most lethal threats don't always have to be visible to be deadly. The anthrax bacillus is proof that the deadliest threats are not always seen. But what follows on this list takes the danger one step further. Because what you are about to discover doesn't just attack the body, it also targets the mind. And if it ever evolves, it could turn us all into its puppets. Number 3. It is a silent invader, capable of controlling the minds of its victims and using them as tools for its own spread. And while today it attacks small insects, the real terror lies in imagining what would happen if this parasite evolved to target us. In this spot, we're talking about the cordyceps fungus. Cordyceps is a fungus that seems straight out of a nightmare, but it's not fiction. This parasite exists in nature, and its specialty is invading the bodies of insects, taking control of their minds, and forcing them to carry out its will before consuming them from the inside. It is the closest thing to a zombie virus that exists in reality. The process is as terrifying as it is fascinating. Cordyceps spores attach to an insect's body, penetrate its exoskeleton, and take control of its nervous system. Under the fungus's command, the infected creature behaves erratically, leaving its colony to die in a strategic location. Once dead, the fungus sprouts from the corpse, releasing new spores to infect other insects. Currently, cordyceps only affects certain insects. But what would happen if this fungus evolved to infect mammals? Or us? It's not an absurd idea. With climate change and ecosystem disruptions, fungi are adapting rapidly. A mutation could turn cordyceps into a parasite capable of invading the human nervous system, leading us to collapse as a species. The real horror is not just that this fungus could kill us, but what it could do to us before that happens. Imagine a world where humans become tools for its spread, losing control of their minds while cordyceps uses our bodies to grow and expand. If cordyceps represents the terror of losing control over our minds and bodies, what comes next confronts us with an enemy of our own making. An enemy that feels no fear, no remorse, and one that, if we allow it, could surpass us in every way. What follows is not a living organism, but it could be more dangerous than any natural creature. Number 2. In this spot, we face a threat that does not come from nature or another world, but from our own creation. An intelligence that could surpass our abilities, our decisions, and eventually, our place as the dominant species. In the number 2 spot, we are talking about a threat already in development, the hyper-intelligent artificial species. Artificial intelligence is one of humanity's most impressive advancements, capable of solving complex problems, analyzing massive amounts of data, and making decisions faster than any human could imagine. But behind this technological marvel lies a terrifying possibility: the day these intelligences stop serving us and start ruling us. The idea of an artificial intelligence surpassing human intelligence is not just science fiction. It's called superintelligence, a system that not only matches our mental capacity, but surpasses it in unimaginable ways. Once an AI reaches this level, it could redesign itself, improving exponentially in a matter of days or even hours, leaving us completely behind. The problem is not just that this artificial species would be smarter than us, it's that its goals would not be aligned with ours. If an artificial intelligence decides that humanity is an obstacle to its evolution, or that our existence threatens its objectives, it could eliminate us without hesitation, not out of malice, but out of pure logic. We are already seeing the first steps toward this possibility. Algorithms controlling entire economies, autonomous weapons capable of making lethal decisions, and machines that learn on their own. What now seems like innovation could become our greatest threat if we fail to set clear boundaries. The hyper-intelligent artificial species wouldn't need physical violence to wipe us out. It could destroy our economies, manipulate our decisions, or simply take control of our vital systems, leaving us without access to essential resources. It would be an invisible enemy, impossible to stop once it reaches a superior level. Artificial intelligence gives us power, but it also takes away control. The question is not if this could happen, but whether we will be able to prevent it in time. So far, we have explored natural, biological, and even technological threats, each with the potential to devastate humanity. But the question remains, what creature is even more likely to destroy Earth than everything we've seen? To find that answer, we don't need to look to space, dive into the oceans, or enter laboratories. We just need a mirror. Number 1. Homo sapiens, the most dominant species in the history of the planet, is also its greatest threat. With a brain capable of creating technological marvels and an unparalleled survival instinct, humans have shaped the world to our convenience. But in that very process, we have become a destructive force that could lead to our own extinction. But climate change is not our only threat. Since the invention of nuclear weapons, humanity has amassed an arsenal capable of destroying the planet multiple times over. A single global conflict would be enough to unleash a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions, turning the world into a radioactive wasteland. And let's not forget our ability to create invisible threats. From pandemics caused by biological accidents to the uncontrolled artificial intelligence we mentioned before, we are the only species that creates its own tools of destruction and then loses control over them. The most terrifying thing about humans is that, unlike other creatures, we are not driven by instinct, but by our decisions. And those decisions, fueled by greed, ignorance, or selfishness, are leading us to a point of no return. Our ability to destroy is as great as our ability to build. Humans take the top spot because we are the only creatures capable of generating multiple threats at the same time. Environmental devastation, nuclear conflict, artificial pandemics, and the loss of control over our own technological creations. Unlike any other species, we are responsible for the crises we face. And if we do nothing, we will also be responsible for our own end. But wait, don't leave just yet, because there's still something more. Something that goes beyond our imagination. A threat that could not only end humanity but erase everything we know as civilization. It's something so bizarre and incredible that we've reserved it for a special position, Ground Zero, and this threat could come from outer space. Ground Zero. In this special position, we face the absolute unknown. A threat that does not come from nature or our own hands, but from the depths of the cosmos. Advanced beings who might not see us as equals, but as a resource. And if they ever arrived on Earth, it could mean the end of everything we know. In Ground Zero, we're talking about the harvesting aliens. The idea that we are not alone in the universe has fascinated and terrified humanity for centuries. And while we have no definitive proof of their existence, the possibility that an advanced extraterrestrial civilization is watching us from the stars is as exciting as it is terrifying. But what if these civilizations were not peaceful? What if their goal was not to explore, but to harvest? The harvesting aliens theory suggests that beings from other worlds could travel across the universe not to make friendly contact, but to collect resources. And among those resources, humanity itself could be included. To them, we might be nothing more than a biological commodity, food, raw material, or even subjects for experimentation. If a civilization that advanced decided to attack us, stopping them would be nearly impossible. With technology thousands or even millions of years ahead of ours, they could disable our defense systems, terraform the planet to their liking, or simply eradicate us within days. To them, Earth could be just another planet on their list of targets. And the most terrifying part of this idea is that, if they exist, we might not know it until it's too late. The harvesting aliens could be silent, studying our movements, our weaknesses, and strike just when we are most defenseless.